Welcome to the Motivational Library, where inspiration awaits. Step inside an ancient yet futuristic realm of knowledge. Golden dust dances in the air, illuminated by warm sunlight. Books levitate, releasing radiant streams of light and hope. Focus on a golden book, resting on a marble pedestal. Its pages flutter, bursting with brilliant light and swirling letters. The title emerges, The Motivational Library, bold and bright. Motivational shines in radiant gold, library in sleek silver. Feel the cinematic depth and warmth as the light expands. Witness wisdom spreading like a sunrise over the horizon. As the light fills the frame, our tagline appears, where every word awakens power. End with a soft golden flash, revealing our channel logo.
Let's begin. Preface: the fire before the fight. Before every victory, there is a breaking. There comes a moment in every life when silence becomes unbearable. When you're staring at the ceiling at 2:47 a.m., wondering how everything slipped through your fingers, your dreams, your confidence, your fire. You tell yourself you're fine, that tomorrow will be better, but deep down you know something has changed. You've stopped fighting, not the world, but yourself. You've been carrying the weight of unspoken fears, unseen failures, and untold stories. The world only sees your smile, not the battles raging behind it. They see your strength, not your scars. But here's the truth no one tells you. Every warrior breaks before they rise. This book is not about perfection. It's about resurrection. It's about rediscovering the fighter within you, the one who's been quiet for too long. Because you were never meant to simply survive. You were born to win from within. When I began writing The Victory Mindset, I wasn't thinking about success or strategy. I was thinking about the nights when even hope felt heavy. I was thinking about you, the dreamer who's tired, the believer who's been bruised, the fighter who's forgotten how to fight. This book is a map, not to the world's idea of victory, but to yours. A journey from fear to faith, from chaos to control, from doubt to destiny. It's written not from a mountaintop, but from the middle of the climb, where sweat meets surrender and pain turns into power. Through stories, struggles, and soul-deep lessons, you'll walk the same road every champion has walked. The one that begins in darkness and ends in light. If you're holding this book, you've already made a decision to rise again. Maybe quietly, maybe painfully, but you've chosen movement over misery, growth over guilt, and courage over comfort. So this is your invitation. To rebuild your belief, to reignite your discipline, to reclaim your identity, and most of all, to become the architect of your own victory. Because victory isn't something you win once. It's something you become. Welcome to the Victory Mindset. Not a book, not a philosophy, but a rebirth. You fought hard to get here. Now it's time to remember who you've always been. Unbreakable, unstoppable, unfinished. Chapter 1. When the warrior breaks. Sometimes the strongest soul is the one who admits they've fallen and chooses to rise again. The rain was merciless that night. It hammered the windows like the sky was breaking open, washing away everything it once held. Daniel sat alone in his car, engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping him from collapsing. The city lights blurred through his tears, painting streaks of gold and blue on the windshield. His chest felt heavy, like 1,000 silent screams were trapped inside. He had lost, not just the promotion he'd been chasing, not just the dream job, but something deeper, his belief in himself. He whispered, "I gave everything, and it still wasn't enough." The words hung in the air like ghosts. The moment of collapse. Every warrior meets this moment. The moment where strength fractures, faith trembles, and courage feels like a myth. It's the point where life's blows stop being just painful and start feeling personal. Daniel had spent years building a name, chasing the kind of success people admire but never truly understand. The late nights, the relentless grind, the sacrifices no one clapped for, all of it had built his armor. But that night, the armor cracked. He sat there in silence, rain pounding against metal, the sound syncing with the rhythm of his breaking heart. What's the point, he thought. Maybe I'm not meant for this. That's the lie defeat whispers. Not that you failed, but that you are a failure. And that's how most warriors fall. Not from the wounds they can see, but from the ones no one else notices, the quiet ones that bleed on the inside. The unseen battle. Life never announces when it's about to test you. It doesn't give you a warning before it rips the ground from beneath your feet. Sometimes you lose a dream. Sometimes you lose someone you love. Sometimes you lose yourself. But here's the truth. Defeat isn't the opposite of victory. It's the beginning of it. You see, the moment a warrior breaks, something powerful happens. The false layers fall away. The masks crack. And for the first time, you meet the real you. The one who's not pretending to be unbreakable anymore. Daniel didn't know it yet, but that storm wasn't destroying him. It was redefining him. The mirror of failure. When he finally made it home, he didn't turn on the lights. He walked straight to the mirror. His reflection looked like a stranger. Eyes dull, shoulders slumped, soul tired. And yet, there was something raw there, something real. He whispered, "I don't even know who I am anymore." Then, somewhere deep within, a quieter voice spoke. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady. "Good. Now you can finally find out." Because when you're stripped of everything you thought defined you, the titles, the victories, the applause, what remains is the truth. And truth, no matter how painful, is always the birthplace of transformation. The anatomy of breaking. Psychologists call it cognitive collapse, that moment when your mind, overwhelmed by repeated defeat, begins to protect itself by believing you're not capable. But here's the paradox. That same breaking point can also become the birthplace of resilience. When the mind reaches its limit, it opens. When the heart shatters, it expands. And when your confidence dies, humility is born, the kind that allows true growth. Every great warrior has walked through this valley. Nelson Mandela in a prison cell, Malala on a hospital bed, Oprah after losing everything she built. They all had a moment where the mirror showed them not a victor, but a survivor. And from that moment on, they fought differently. The rebuild begins. The next morning, Daniel didn't wake up victorious. He woke up exhausted. But he woke up. He sat on the edge of his bed, sunlight cutting through the blinds like hope sneaking into darkness. He remembered something his grandfather once told him. The sword that breaks in battle isn't weak. It just needs to be reforged in stronger fire. And that's when he understood. He didn't need to give up. He needed to begin again, but differently. Not from ego, but from purpose. The inner dialogue. He began asking questions he'd never dared to ask before. What if failure isn't punishment, but preparation? What if this loss is life's way of removing what's not truly mine? What if this pain is actually guidance? The answers didn't come instantly, but a quiet realization began to dawn. Maybe the breaking wasn't the end. Maybe it was the beginning of the rebuild. That's the secret most people never discover. The moment you think you've been defeated, you've actually just been redirected. The reforging fire. Over the weeks that followed, Daniel began to train his mind like a warrior trains for battle. He stopped asking, "Why me?" and started asking, "What now?" He began journaling his fears, not to erase them, but to understand them. He started running again, not to chase success, but to chase stillness. He stopped comparing himself to others and began measuring progress by courage, not outcome. He began to see that victory isn't loud. It doesn't always come with applause or recognition. Sometimes victory is silent, the decision to get up again, even when no one sees you. That's what the victory mindset truly is. Not the mindset of the undefeated, but of the undeniably resilient. The transformation. Months later, Daniel would look back at that rainy night and realize it was the most important night of his life. Not the day he lost, but the day he began to win differently. He hadn't just built a career again, he had built himself. He learned to listen to silence without fear. He learned to face failure without shame. He learned to find victory in moments no one applauded. Because the truth is, the warrior doesn't become strong by winning. He becomes strong by surviving what should have destroyed him. The moment the warrior breaks is the moment he stops fighting the world and starts mastering himself. And that's the beginning of every great victory story. Key takeaways. Defeat doesn't define you, it reveals you. The breaking point is not the end, but the beginning of who you truly are. True strength is forged in vulnerability. The warrior's greatest weapon is honesty, especially with themselves. Failure is not punishment, it's preparation. Every loss carries a hidden lesson. Victory begins in the mind. Before you win in the world, you must win in your thoughts. Resilience is silent power. Getting up when no one's watching is the essence of greatness. Action step. Tonight, find a quiet space. Close your eyes and ask yourself, where have I been pretending to be strong instead of being honest? Write it down. No filters. No judgment. Then, beneath that answer, write this truth in bold letters. This is not where I end. This is where I begin again. Because that's the moment the warrior rises. Not when the world applauds, but when the mind whispers, I'm still here. Chapter 2. The Battlefield Within. The greatest wars are not fought on foreign lands. They are fought in silence, between who you are and who you're afraid to become. The applause was thunderous. Aisha smiled on stage, microphone in hand, light glittering off the trophy that proclaimed her as the Entrepreneur of the Year. Cameras flashed. People cheered her name. Her speech was flawless, polished, inspiring, confident. But when she walked off that stage and into the quiet of her car, the applause dissolved into static. She sat there, still in her gown, hands trembling on the steering wheel. The trophy glimmered beside her like a mirror reflecting a truth she didn't want to face. Because deep down, Aisha felt like a fraud. The mask of strength. No one saw the battles she fought in her head, the sleepless nights replaying every mistake, the constant whisper of, "You're not good enough," or the weight of pretending she was fearless when fear was her daily companion. Her smile had become her shield. Her success had become her armor. And yet, behind all that armor, her soul was exhausted. That night, when she got home, she placed the trophy on her desk and stared at it in silence. "Why don't I feel victorious?" she whispered. Her mind replied with 1,000 voices. "Because you're not perfect. Because you're just lucky. Because they'll find out you're not as great as they think." And so began another night of war. Not against the world, but against herself. The war no one sees. We live in an age where everyone is fighting invisible wars. Some are battling depression behind a smile. Some are wrestling with self-doubt while leading others. Some are chasing dreams that look alive on the outside but feel empty inside. This is the battlefield within, where your mind becomes both your greatest ally and your most dangerous enemy. Aisha's war wasn't about business or money. It was about self-worth, the silent question that echoes through so many hearts. Am I truly enough? The psychology of inner conflict. Psychologists call it imposter syndrome, a mental paradox where competence and confidence never meet. You succeed, but your mind insists it's a fluke. It's the cruelest trick the mind can play. You climb mountains only to look down and say, maybe it wasn't that high. Aisha had mastered achievement, but not peace. She was fighting the version of herself that still lived in the shadows of old memories. The young girl who was told to be perfect or be forgotten. Her battlefield wasn't the boardroom. It was her belief system. The flashback, Seeds of War. When she was 12, she brought home a painting from school, an abstract swirl of color that she had poured her heart into. Her father, a man of structure and precision, looked at it and frowned. "What is this supposed to be?" he asked. "It's how happiness feels," she said softly. He smiled, but not kindly. "Happiness doesn't look like chaos, Aisha. You need to do better." And there it was, the seed. The belief that love must be earned, that worth must be proven, that perfection equals acceptance. That single moment had built her inner war zone. Every achievement became a desperate attempt to silence that old voice. The breaking point. Years later, success didn't quiet the noise, it amplified it. One night, during a conference abroad, she stood before a mirror in a luxury hotel. The city lights outside sparkled like a celebration, but her reflection looked hollow. She asked herself, if this is victory, why do I feel defeated? Her voice cracked as tears fell, and for the first time in her adult life, she didn't try to stop them. Because pretending to be okay had become its own kind of prison. The awakening. In that stillness, she remembered something a mentor once told her. The mind is a loyal servant, but a terrible master. And it hit her. She had been letting her thoughts rule her life. Every doubt, every fear, every memory of not enough had become her commander. So, she made a quiet vow to herself that night. No more. She would stop fighting to be perfect and start fighting to be peaceful. That was the moment the war began to turn. The shift. The next morning, she did something she had never done before. She left her phone, her laptop, and her planner, and went for a long walk without any agenda. The city was waking up, the air cool, the sun shy behind clouds. She walked until her breathing matched her footsteps. For the first time in years, her mind began to quiet. And then, she noticed something. The world wasn't demanding anything from her. The trees didn't care about her success. The morning air didn't ask for proof of her worth. It just existed, freely, effortlessly, enough. She realized, maybe I am too. The training ground of the mind. Over the months that followed, Aisha began retraining her thoughts like a soldier retrains reflexes. Every time her mind said, "You're not good enough," she countered with, "I am growing, and that's enough." Every time the past whispered, "You failed before," she answered, "And I rose after." Every time she caught herself comparing, she gently reminded, "The war isn't out there, it's in here." She began journaling her battles, writing not about goals, but about peace. Not about wins, but about moments of stillness. She meditated, not to silence her thoughts, but to listen to them without judgment. She forgave herself for all the versions she had to be just to survive. And slowly, the battlefield within began to transform, not into a garden, but into a training ground. Because peace doesn't mean there's no war. It means you've learned how to fight differently. The inner victory. A year later, Aisha stood on another stage, not to accept an award, but to give a talk. This time, she spoke about failure, fear, and the truth behind her success. She said, "We spend our lives chasing external victories, but the greatest one is when you win the war inside. When you can look in the mirror and not flinch. When you can sit in silence and not need validation. That's the real victory mindset." The audience rose to their feet. But for the first time, she didn't need their applause. Because this time, she was no longer performing strength. She had become it. The lesson. The greatest victory doesn't come from conquering others. It comes from mastering yourself. You can build empires, win awards, or collect applause, but if your mind is still at war, you'll never rest. The real battlefield is internal, the quiet war between your fear and your faith, your self-doubt and your potential. Victory doesn't mean silencing your mind. It means teaching it to fight for you, not against you. Key takeaways. Your biggest enemy isn't failure, it's self-doubt. The mind must be trained, not obeyed. Awareness is the first step toward mastery. Peace is not the absence of war, but the presence of inner strength. True confidence is quiet. It comes from self-acceptance, not perfection. Winning the inner war changes how you fight every other one. Action step. Take 10 minutes tonight. Write down the 3 loudest negative thoughts you battle most often. Then, for each one, write a counter-command, a statement of truth that reclaims your power. For example, "I'm not enough, I'm growing daily, and that's enough. I always fail, I always rise. I can't do this, I'm learning how." Read your counter-commands every morning, not as affirmations, but as mental armor. Because every day, you step onto a battlefield. And victory begins not when the world believes in you, but when you finally believe in yourself. Chapter 3. Shadows of Doubt. Doubt is not the enemy. It's the echo of greatness, testing how badly you want to rise. The desert stretched endlessly before him, golden dunes shimmering under a cruel sun. No landmarks, no signs, only silence and the whisper of hot wind. Ravi stopped walking, sweat trickling down his neck, his throat burning. His backpack felt heavier than ever, not from the supplies he carried, but from the questions he couldn't silence. "How did I get here?" he murmured to himself. Not the literal desert, but this space in life where every direction felt wrong. He had left a stable corporate job 6 months ago to start his own design studio. Bold, passionate, full of vision. Everyone called him brave. He felt unstoppable, until the rejections came, until the savings began to fade, until friends stopped asking how things were going because they already knew the answer. Now, every morning felt like a fight to believe again. And today, in this desert of uncertainty, he was losing that fight. The mirage of confidence. When Ravi started his business, he believed in all the right quotes. Believe in yourself. Dream big. You can do anything. But no one warned him about what happens after the motivation fades, when your dreams stop roaring and start whispering. maybe this isn't working. Doubt doesn't appear like thunder. It seeps in like sand through cracks, quietly, persistently. At first, it's just one thought. What if I'm not good enough? Then another. What if I've already peaked? And soon, it becomes a storm inside your mind, blinding you to everything you once believed. Ravi's desert wasn't real, it was mental. A landscape built from the sands of self-criticism and the heat of expectation. The anatomy of doubt. Doubt is tricky. It disguises itself as logic. It whispers, be realistic. It tells you to slow down, to stop dreaming so wildly, to play safe, because that's what mature people do. But the truth is, doubt's real goal isn't to protect you. It's to test your commitment to what you say you want. Every great dream demands proof of desire. It asks, do you really mean it? And doubt is that question wearing a mask. Ravi wasn't failing because he lacked talent. He was failing because he was letting doubt narrate his story. The inner storm. He sat on the sand, head in hands. The wind howled. His thoughts became louder. You're not cut out for this. You should have stayed where it was safe. You're wasting time. He pressed his palms against his ears, trying to silence the storm inside. But it grew louder, because the real battlefield was his own belief. That's when he noticed something strange. In the distance, a lone figure was walking toward him, slow, steady, unhurried. When the man finally came close, Ravi could see the lines of wisdom carved into his weathered face. He wore simple clothes, carried no bag, and had eyes that seemed to look straight into his soul. Lost? The man asked softly. Ravi nodded, unable to find words. The man smiled faintly. You're not lost. You're just listening to the wrong voice. The mentor in the desert. The stranger sat beside him, scooping a handful of sand and letting it fall through his fingers. Do you know what this desert is made of? He asked. Ravi frowned. Sand. The man smiled. Sand, yes, but also erosion, mountains that gave up over time. Every grain here was once a rock that broke down because it stopped believing it could withstand the wind. He looked at Ravi. That's what doubt does. It wears you down grain by grain, until you forget you were once a mountain. Ravi swallowed hard. So how do I stop it? The old man's eyes gleamed. You don't stop doubt. You walk with it. You let it question you, but you don't let it command you. He leaned closer. Courage isn't the absence of doubt. It's the decision to move forward while it walks beside you. And with that, he stood up, pointed toward the horizon, and said, keep walking. The only way out of the desert is through it. Then, just as suddenly as he'd appeared, the man turned and disappeared into the heat haze. The turning point. Ravi stood there for a long moment, wind blowing through his hair, heart pounding. Something inside him shifted, not a sudden burst of confidence, but a quiet acceptance. He realized he'd been waiting for doubt to disappear before taking action, but that was never going to happen. The goal wasn't to eliminate fear. It was to stop letting it hold the steering wheel. He tightened the straps of his backpack, looked at the endless dunes ahead, and whispered, let's walk then. Step by step, he began to move again. The sun still burned, the wind still howled, but now every step felt different, not because the desert changed, but because he did. Transforming doubt into drive. That night, back at his small studio apartment, Ravi wrote 3 words on a sticky note and placed it above his desk. Walk with doubt. From that day on, he treated doubt not as an enemy, but as a companion, a signal that he was still growing, still stretching beyond what he knew. Every time he felt fear before pitching a client, he said, you can come along, but you don't get to speak. When he wanted to give up, he said, if I still care, I'm not done yet. He began using doubt as fuel. If something scared him, he chased it. If a goal made him nervous, he took it as proof that it mattered. And slowly, clients returned. Projects succeeded. His small studio began to thrive, not because the world became easier, but because his inner world became stronger. The transformation. One evening, Ravi stood on his apartment balcony, watching the city lights flicker like constellations below. He realized that doubt would never fully leave him. It would always walk beside him, whispering its questions, testing his fire. But that was okay, because he no longer feared the shadows. He had learned to turn them into light. He smiled, feeling the desert wind in his memory, and whispered, I'm not trying to silence you anymore. I'm using you to rise. That's the paradox of growth. The very things that once paralyzed you become the pulse that drives you forward. And that is how doubt transforms into drive. Key takeaways. Doubt is not weakness, it's awareness. It means your dream is stretching you beyond comfort. Courage doesn't silence fear, it moves despite it. Every great goal will test your conviction. Doubt is life's way of asking, do you still believe? Don't wait for confidence to begin. Begin, and confidence will follow. The desert of doubt is crossed one honest step at a time. Action step. Write down one goal you've been avoiding because of self-doubt. Then answer these 3 questions honestly. 1. What is the worst that could happen if I try and survive it? 2. What lesson could I gain even if I fail? 3. What version of myself will I never meet if I don't try at all? Read your answers aloud. Then say quietly to yourself, I walk with doubt, but I don't obey it. Because that's how every victory begins. Not in the absence of fear, but in the courage to keep walking through the shadows of doubt. Chapter 4. The Turning Point. There comes a moment when you stop waiting for signs and become one. Rain hammered against the windshield, blurring the neon lights outside. Maya sat in her parked car, engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. In the passenger seat lay a resignation letter, crumpled, rewritten, and folded again. She'd been sitting here for 47 minutes. 47 minutes between the life she knew and the one she secretly wanted. Her phone buzzed with another message from her boss. Don't forget the client meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. sharp. Her chest tightened. The same message, the same tone, the same cycle, the weight of almost. For 6 years, Maya had built a reputation as the reliable one. Never late, never loud, never risky. The kind of person companies depend on and quietly take for granted. But behind the polished smile and professional efficiency was a quiet ache. She didn't dream of climbing the corporate ladder anymore. She dreamed of building her own. A photography studio. A space that captured stories, not spreadsheets. She'd been taking photos since she was 12, her father's old Nikon dangling from her neck as she captured light sneaking through windows, faces lost in thought, and fleeting moments most people missed. That was her language, light. But somewhere between promotions and paychecks, she'd stopped speaking it. The crossroads. Lightning flashed. The city outside glowed silver for a heartbeat, then sank back into darkness. Maya stared at her reflection in the rearview mirror. Her eyes looked tired, not from work, but from waiting for the right time, waiting for enough savings, waiting for permission. Her entire life had been one long hesitation, and now it was suffocating her. She picked up the resignation letter, tracing the edges with trembling fingers. Her heart whispered, do it. Her mind replied, don't be stupid. She could almost hear the voices of people she'd never confront. It's not practical. The creative world is unstable. You'll regret leaving a steady job. The world teaches us to fear the unknown, but it rarely warns us about the quiet poison of the almost. Almost ready, almost brave, almost alive. The flashback. She closed her eyes, and suddenly she was 10 years old again. Her father stood beside her on their old apartment balcony, showing her how to focus the camera. See that bird, he'd said. Don't just look at it. Wait until it moves, then click. That's the moment that matters. She remembered the sound of the shutter. Click. The bird in flight, wings spread, frozen against the morning sky. That single click had made her believe she could stop time. That moments were magic if you were brave enough to catch them. And yet, here she was now, too afraid to take the biggest shot of her life. The inner shift. Maya exhaled, long and slow. She turned on the ignition, but instead of driving home, she parked near the riverbank, the place she used to come with her camera back when dreaming felt easy. The city lights shimmered across the water. Reflections danced like possibilities. She whispered, when did I become afraid of my own story? No one answered. The rain softened. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then, in that stillness, a truth surfaced, gentle but undeniable. She didn't need certainty. She needed commitment. Every transformation begins not with a guarantee, but with a decision. Not when you know the path, but when you decide you'll walk it, no matter how dark it looks ahead. The leap. Maya unfolded the resignation letter one last time. Her hands didn't shake now. She smiled faintly, not from confidence, but from clarity. She took out her pen, signed her name, and said quietly, I don't need to be ready. I just need to begin. That was it. No music swelled. No lightning struck. Just a woman sitting in her car at midnight, making a decision that would rewrite her entire life. She leaned back, exhaled, and for the first time in years, felt light. That's the thing about turning points. They rarely come with applause. They arrive quietly, disguised as a small act of defiance that says, "I choose myself." The aftermath. 3 months later, the small studio was alive with light. Canvases leaned against the walls, photos hung on strings, and the scent of fresh coffee filled the air. Clients trickled in, slowly at first, then more steadily. But that wasn't what mattered most. What mattered was how Maya felt each morning when she opened her eyes. That electric mix of fear and freedom. She was finally scared for the right reasons. Sometimes, she still questioned herself. But whenever she did, she remembered her father's words. Wait for the moment, then click. And she realized that her turning point hadn't been the day she quit her job. It had been the moment she stopped waiting for permission to live her own life. The lesson: every person faces a turning point. That invisible threshold between who you've been and who you're meant to be. Some run from it, some postpone it, and some, like Maya, decide to leap, terrified, unprepared, but fully alive. Because in the end, courage doesn't change the fear. It just changes what you do next. Key takeaways. A turning point begins with a choice, not a plan. You won't always be ready, but readiness is overrated. Courage and clarity arrive after movement, not before. The pain of uncertainty is smaller than the pain of never trying. Fear doesn't vanish. It transforms into focus when aligned with purpose. You don't find your path. You build it, one brave step at a time. Action step. Take a moment tonight. Write down one decision you've been postponing, the one that's been whispering at you in the quiet moments. Now ask yourself, 1. What would my life look like 1 year from now if I made this choice today? 2. What would it look like if I didn't? 3. Which vision hurts more to lose? Then close your eyes, breathe deeply, and whisper, "This is my turning point." Because sometimes, the most powerful revolutions begin, not with thunder, but with the quiet courage of saying yes to yourself. Chapter 5. The Fire Within. Sometimes the flame doesn't die, it just hides beneath the ashes, waiting for you to breathe again. The applause thundered through the hall. Ethan stood under the golden lights, smiling, nodding, shaking hands. He had just received the Innovator of the Year award, a dream he'd once written on a crumpled piece of paper in college. The cameras flashed, the crowd cheered, and yet, beneath the surface of that perfect moment, something inside him whispered, "You don't feel it anymore." He clapped along, practiced gratitude, posed for the photos, but his heart was a hollow echo chamber. The applause didn't fill him. It reminded him how empty he'd become. The quiet burnout. Ethan used to love what he did. Back then, every idea felt like lightning. Sudden, electric, impossible to contain. He'd wake up at 5 a.m. to sketch new product designs, scribble concepts on napkins during lunch, and lose track of time in the glow of creation. He believed passion could move mountains, and for a while, it did. But somewhere between success and survival, something shifted. The deadlines multiplied. The meetings dragged. The joy thinned. He wasn't building dreams anymore. He was managing deliverables. The spark that once lit his soul had been replaced by the dim, mechanical rhythm of just one more task. The breaking point. It happened one evening in the office. Everyone else had gone home. Ethan sat alone under the sterile hum of fluorescent lights, staring at his screen. A new project brief blinked on the monitor. He read it once, twice, then realized he couldn't feel anything. No excitement, no curiosity, nothing. He closed his eyes and pressed his palms to his face. His mind felt heavy, fogged, exhausted beyond repair. The whispers began. Maybe I've lost it. Maybe I'm done. Maybe I was never meant to do this. He'd always imagined burnout as fire, dramatic, loud, destructive. But the truth was quieter. Burnout was numbness. A slow fading of color until everything turns gray. The fall. That night, Ethan walked home instead of driving. The city lights blurred into gold streaks through the mist. He passed the same streets he'd once dreamed of conquering. Now they just looked tired, like reflections of himself. He reached his apartment, threw his bag on the couch, and collapsed onto the floor. There was a framed photo on the shelf. Him and his father, smiling at his first workshop table, the day he started his company. He picked it up, tracing the edge of the glass. His father had passed away 3 years ago, right before Ethan's first big product launch. It hit him then. His father's dream had become his career, but somewhere along the way, he'd forgotten why he started building in the first place. He wasn't creating anymore. He was maintaining. The spark returns. 2 days later, unable to face another meeting, Ethan took the train to his old hometown, a small coastal village miles away from the noise. He hadn't been there in years. The air smelled like salt and memory. As he walked along the shore, he stumbled upon the old lighthouse. The door creaked as he stepped inside. Dust, rust, and silence greeted him. And there, in the corner, was his father's toolbox. Still there, still waiting. He sat down on the wooden floor, opened the box, and found a half-finished project, a tiny mechanical bird they'd been building together when he was 16. He smiled, then laughed softly through tears. It wasn't perfect. The wings were uneven, the gears worn. But in that imperfection was something real, passion unfiltered by performance. He picked up the screwdriver, adjusted a wire, and turned the tiny crank. The bird's wings fluttered once, twice, then stilled. It didn't fly, but Ethan did. Not in body, but in spirit. Because in that single, simple moment, he remembered. He remembered why he built things. Not for awards, not for applause, but for the joy of creation itself. The inner realization. Ethan stayed in that lighthouse for 2 days. No Wi-Fi, no phone, no obligations. Just silence. Wood. Sea. Memory. In that stillness, he learned something most people never do. Passion doesn't disappear. It just hides beneath exhaustion, waiting for rest, not replacement. He didn't need to find his fire again. He needed to feed it differently. He realized he had been pouring his energy into proving instead of expressing. And when passion becomes performance, burnout is inevitable. The fire within doesn't need validation, it needs oxygen. It needs stillness, honesty, and the courage to build for joy, not for applause. The return. When Ethan returned to the city, he didn't quit his company, he redefined it. He started dedicating 1 hour a day, just one, to building without an outcome. No clients, no pressure, just creation. He reopened the workshop corner in his office, invited interns to build with him, and called it Project Ember. A space to ignite ideas that had no purpose except to remind them why they started. Soon, the spark spread. The team felt it. The culture shifted. The company that once ran on burnout began to run on belief again. The flame had returned, not from force, but from faith. The transformation. 6 months later, standing at another award ceremony, Ethan was called to the stage again. This time, the applause didn't feel hollow. He looked at the audience and said simply, "I used to think success was about winning. Now I know it's about remembering. Remembering why you started, even when the world forgets." The crowd rose to its feet. But Ethan wasn't thinking about them. He was thinking about the small mechanical bird, still sitting on his desk, wings uneven, imperfect, alive. He smiled, because sometimes rediscovering passion isn't about starting over. It's about coming home. The lesson: every fire dims when you feed it with the wrong fuel. Burnout doesn't mean your passion is gone. It means your energy is misaligned. You lose your spark when you start chasing validation instead of meaning. But when you return to your why, when you build, write, teach, or create for love, not for applause, the flame roars back to life. Because passion is not about intensity, it's about authenticity. Key takeaways: burnout isn't the death of passion, it's a signal of misalignment. You don't need to find your fire, you need to feed it better. Rest is not a reward, it's fuel. Create from love, not for approval. When you return to your why, the world feels lighter again. Action step: find a quiet space tonight. Take a blank page and write at the top, what did I once love that I've stopped giving time to? Then answer honestly. No filters, no guilt. Next to each answer, write a single small action, one thing you can do this week to rekindle it. It could be painting for 10 minutes, taking a walk without your phone, writing something that no one will ever see. Because sometimes, the way back to passion isn't through effort, it's through remembrance. Light the match. The fire within has been waiting for you. Chapter 6. Rise of the Inner Champion. You don't become unstoppable by winning every battle. You become unstoppable by refusing to stay down. The gym was nearly empty, save for the faint hum of machines and the rhythmic sound of fists striking the heavy bag. Darius moved like a storm, each punch sharp, deliberate, echoing years of frustration. Sweat dripped down his face, pooling on the mat beneath him. He wasn't training for a fight. He was fighting the ghosts inside his head. The fall before the rise. Once, Darius had been a rising name in the boxing world. Fast hands, clean record, the kind of fighter commentators called the next big thing. Then came that match. One misstep, one wrong move, one knockout, and his entire world collapsed. The headlines were brutal, overhyped. Done. Another wasted talent. He told himself he didn't care, but the mirror told a different story. He stopped showing up for training, stopped answering calls. Weeks turned into months. Failure had crawled into his bones, whispering its poison. You're finished. You peaked too soon. You'll never rise again. The Mentor's Challenge. One evening, Darius dragged himself to the gym, not to train, but because he had nowhere else to go. The lights were dim. The air smelled of chalk and grit. In the corner stood Coach Amir, an old-school trainer with more wrinkles than most fighters had fights. Without looking up, Amir said, "You're late." Darius muttered, "Didn't know I was expected." Amir smiled. Champions are always expected, even when they forget who they are. Darius frowned. "I'm no champion." The coach walked closer, eyes sharp. "Then why are you still standing?" The words hit like a punch. Because truthfully, Darius didn't know. The battlefield of identity. Amir pointed to the heavy bag. "Hit." Darius hesitated. "What for?" Amir shrugged. "To remember." Darius sighed and threw a weak jab. Again, Amir said. He obeyed. Another jab, then another. Minutes passed. The strikes grew stronger, louder, and with each hit, something inside him cracked open. Not anger, not pride, but pain. He heard his father's voice, the one who'd left when he was 10. He saw the faces of critics who'd doubted him. He felt every bruise, every defeat, every word he'd swallowed in silence. And somewhere between those punches, he realized he wasn't hitting the bag. He was hitting every lie that had ever told him he wasn't enough. The shift, when he finally stopped, his chest heaved, his arms trembling. Amir stepped closer and said quietly, "That is the real fight. Not the one in the ring, the one in your head." He continued, "You think you lost because you were beaten. But no, you lost because you believed you were beaten. There's a difference." That night, those words echoed long after Darius left the gym. He realized something. He'd been training his body for years, but never his belief. And without belief, discipline has no foundation. Without identity, success has no roots. He had to rebuild, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Becoming again. The next morning, Darius started small. He woke up at 5 a.m. No alarm, no phone, just him and the quiet. He ran 3 miles through the dawn fog, not to prepare for a fight, but to remember what commitment felt like. Each day became a ritual. Run, train, reflect, eat clean, read, rest. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't cinematic. But slowly, he began to feel his power returning. Not the physical kind, but the mental armor that only consistency builds. Discipline wasn't punishment anymore. It was proof, a reminder that he could still choose his direction every day. The rebirth of belief. One afternoon, Amir found him shadowboxing in silence. The old man watched for a while, then said, "You look different." Darius wiped his face. "I feel different." Amir nodded. "That's belief. It's not loud, it's steady. It's when you stop hoping you'll win and start knowing you can't lose by showing up." Darius smiled. "You think I'm ready to fight again?" Amir grinned. "You already are." That night, Darius wrote 3 lines on the back of his training journal. 1. I am not defined by what broke me. 2. I am defined by what I choose to build next. 3. The fight is not against others, it's against my limits. Those words became his creed, his resurrection, the comeback. Months later, the arena lights blazed again. Same crowd, same noise, but a different man stepped into the ring. Not a boy chasing approval, a warrior anchored in identity. Round after round, he moved with precision, calm, focused, unshaken. The punches landed, but this time, doubt didn't. When the bell rang and his hand was raised, he didn't scream. He didn't collapse. He simply closed his eyes and whispered, "I'm home." Because victory isn't always about defeating others. Sometimes it's about remembering who you've always been and fighting for that truth until it stands tall again. The lesson: the rise of the inner champion begins not in the ring, but in the mirror. It starts when you decide that your identity is chosen, not given. When you stop letting circumstances define you and start defining yourself through discipline, belief, and purpose. Champions aren't born from comfort. They are sculpted through struggle, sanded by failure, polished by persistence, and forged by faith. And when belief and discipline unite, identity transforms. You don't just act like a champion, you become one. Key takeaways. The mind is the real arena. Every victory begins there. Discipline is the bridge between belief and identity. You don't rebuild confidence overnight. You earn it through consistency. Defeat doesn't end your story. It introduces your true character. Champions rise not because they never fall, but because they never stop getting back up. Action step. Tonight, find a quiet space and ask yourself, 1. What labels have I accepted that no longer serve me? 2. If I could redefine who I am, starting now, what would I call myself? 3. What one habit, practiced daily, would make me believe in that identity? Write the answers down. Then commit, not to perfection, but to practice. Because the inner champion isn't waiting to be found. It's waiting to be forged. Chapter 7. The Art of Controlled Chaos. Peace isn't found when the storm ends. It's found when you learn to stand in the rain without losing your fire. The city was awake long before the sun. Sirens screamed in the distance. Horns bled into the morning air. And through it all, Arya sat cross-legged on her apartment floor, eyes closed, breath steady, surrounded by the hum of chaos. Her phone blinked on the counter, 27 unread messages. Her laptop chimed with back-to-back notifications. A cup of untouched coffee cooled beside her. She didn't move. Not yet. Because Arya had learned something the hard way. If you don't master your mind, the world will master you. The breaking wave. Just 6 months earlier, Arya had been a rising architect in a prestigious firm. Deadlines, clients, presentations. Her life was a blur of ambition and adrenaline. Until the night the email came. We regret to inform you that due to restructuring, your position has been dissolved. In a single moment, everything she'd built collapsed. Career, identity, stability. The following weeks were a blur. She applied for new jobs, revised portfolios, forced optimism. But inside, she was unraveling, restless, angry, terrified of stillness. Her mind became her worst neighborhood, noisy, unsafe, impossible to live in. The spiral, the insomnia came first, then the panic attacks, then the days where even opening her eyes felt like a war. Friends told her, "You just need a break." But how do you rest when your thoughts don't stop running? One morning, she found herself sitting in traffic, gripping the steering wheel, whispering, "Please, just let it stop. Just 1 minute of peace." That plea became her turning point, not a breakdown, but a quiet surrender. Because she realized peace doesn't arrive from escape. It begins with awareness. The lesson begins. She started small. 5 minutes of silence each morning. No phone, no music, just breath. The first few days were unbearable. Her mind screamed, to-do lists, regrets, imaginary conversations. But she stayed. Each inhale, each exhale, a rebellion against the noise. Soon, 5 minutes became 10. 10 became 20. And somewhere in that stillness, she discovered something profound. You can't control the chaos outside, but you can choreograph your response to it. The metaphor of the river. One afternoon, Arya sat by the river, watching the current rush past. A leaf drifted by, spinning helplessly in the flow. She realized she had been living like that leaf, tossed by every wave, every demand, every opinion. But the river didn't apologize for its chaos. It flowed with purpose, wild, yet guided by unseen edges. That was the art she needed to master, controlled chaos. Not stillness that denies motion, but stillness within motion. Not escape from noise, but clarity inside it. The practice of presence. She began to build her days around balance, not busyness. Mornings were sacred, No screens, no distractions. Just breath and journaling. She wrote 3 things each day. 1. What's in my control today? 2. What's not? 3. How will I respond to both? Her focus sharpened. Her energy became deliberate. The chaos didn't vanish, but it no longer owned her. Even when job offers fell through, or bills piled up, she learned to pause before reacting, to respond instead of explode, to act from strength, not survival. That shift, that tiny pause between emotion and action, became her superpower. The test. Months later, Aria landed a major freelance project, designing a community center for underprivileged youth. It was her dream project, until everything started going wrong. Delays, budget cuts, client disagreements. And the old Aria, the perfectionist, the overthinker, began to whisper again. It's falling apart. You're not ready for this. But this time, she didn't spiral. She sat down, closed her eyes, and breathed, just as she had on those early mornings. She visualized the chaos as the river again, rushing, unpredictable, but flowing towards something meaningful. And as she reopened her eyes, she didn't feel fear. She felt focus. She adjusted plans, rallied her small team, and kept moving, calmly, deliberately, like a dancer in a storm who knows every step. The moment of realization. When the project was finally completed, the opening day was anything but smooth. Rain poured. The sound system failed. Half the invited guests were late. But as Aria watched the children run through the new hall, laughing, splashing, alive, she smiled. Because for the first time, the chaos didn't bother her. It energized her. The storm had taught her to stand tall, not because life got easier, but because she had grown steadier. That was the victory. Not control, composure. Not perfection, presence. The essence of controlled chaos. Life will never be quiet. The world will never stop demanding your attention, your reaction, your urgency. But peace is not found in the silence of life. It's found in the strength to stay centered amidst its noise. When your breath becomes your anchor, and your awareness becomes your compass, you stop being at the mercy of chaos. You become its conductor, and that is where true power lives. The lesson: mastery isn't about removing struggle, it's about responding to it with intention. The strongest warriors don't fight fewer battles, they simply fight them differently. When the mind learns to stay calm in crisis, the heart becomes unbreakable. And the person who can find stillness in the storm becomes the storm itself. Key takeaways. Chaos is inevitable. Calm is intentional. Peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of focus. Mastery begins in the pause between reaction and response. Stillness is a strength, not a luxury. But when you can't control what happens, control how you show up. Action step. Tonight, take 5 minutes. No music, no phone, no agenda. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Now ask yourself, 1. What in my life feels chaotic right now? 2. Which part of that chaos is truly mine to control? 3. How can I anchor myself, not to outcomes, but to calm? Then, write one sentence that will guide you tomorrow. Even when the world rushes, I will move with intention. Because peace is not a place you find. It's a power you build. Chapter 8. The Power of Belief. Before the world believes in you, you must believe in the unseen version of yourself. The desert stretched endlessly, shimmering under the brutal sun. Heat waves rose from the sand like ghosts of forgotten dreams. And in the distance, a lone figure moved, steady, focused, unwavering. His name was Omar, a long-distance runner once hailed as the Desert Lion. 5 years ago, he was a national champion. But one accident, one moment of shattering glass and screaming tires, had torn that title away. Now, every step he took was a rebellion against the words that haunted him. You'll never run again. The fall. The accident had broken more than his leg. It had broken his identity. He'd been the man who ran like wind, who outraced the horizon itself. But when he woke up in the hospital, metal rods in his leg, he couldn't even stand without pain slicing through his body. The doctors were blunt. You should focus on walking properly again. Running is unrealistic. He nodded, but something inside him refused to die. A whisper that said, they're wrong. At first, he tried to silence it, tried to accept reality, but acceptance turned into emptiness. and emptiness into rage. Until one night, he looked in the mirror and said aloud, "If belief built me once, it can build me again." That sentence became his prayer, his weapon, his medicine. The first step, the first attempt to jog was humiliating. His leg trembled. His breath failed. He collapsed on the sand, tears mixing with sweat and dust. But he got up, and the next day, he tried again. People watched him, shaking their heads, whispering, "He's in denial. He's going to hurt himself again." But Omar didn't hear their voices anymore. He only heard the rhythm of his breath and the pounding of his heart, the music of persistence. Every step became a declaration of defiance. Every fall, a lesson in patience. Every scar, a testament that belief is stronger than biology. The inner science. In his recovery, Omar began reading about neuroplasticity, how the brain can literally rewire itself through repetition and faith. He discovered that the body follows the mind, that conviction can activate dormant circuits and awaken muscles once thought dead. He realized something profound. The body heals when the mind believes. Each morning, he visualized himself running, feeling the wind on his face, hearing the crowds roar, tasting the salt of triumph. Science calls it mental rehearsal. The ancients called it faith. Both are the same, seeing before seeing. The test of faith. Months passed. The pain dulled but never disappeared. Yet Omar kept training, before dawn, in silence, when no one could mock or pity him. Then came the day of the Desert Cross Marathon, a 50-kilometer race across dunes and heat. He signed up, not to win, but to prove he could finish. The officials warned him. His friends begged him not to. Even his mother cried, fearing he'd collapse under the sun. But belief has a sound only its holder can hear, a calling too sacred to explain. When the race began, Omar ran like a man carrying both his past and his promise. The sand burned. His muscles screamed. But every time his body said, "Stop," his belief said, "One more step." By the halfway mark, half the runners had dropped out. He kept going. By the 40th kilometer, his leg was bleeding through the brace. He stumbled, fell face first into the sand, and for a moment, he thought it was over. The world blurred. The crowd was miles away. And in that silence, a memory returned. His younger self, sprinting across this same desert, shouting into the wind, "Nothing can stop me." And with a final, trembling breath, Omar whispered, "Then nothing will." He rose, one step, then another, until the finish line came into view, waving like a mirage, daring him to believe. When he crossed it, he didn't raise his hands in victory. He fell to his knees, laughing, crying, trembling, because in that moment, he understood. He hadn't conquered the desert. He had conquered doubt. The revelation. When the press later asked, "What kept you going?" Omar smiled and said, "Pain tells you what's happening. Belief tells you what's possible." The world had seen a comeback story, but Omar had lived a rebirth. He learned that belief isn't just hope. It's the blueprint of transformation. Before any miracle occurs in the world, it first occurs in the mind. And sometimes, the most powerful healing doesn't come from medicine, but from meaning. The reflection. Belief is invisible, yet it shapes everything visible. It's the architect of reality, the silent author of every outcome. A person who believes they're broken will always act from limitation. But a person who believes they're being built will find purpose even in pain. That's the secret the universe whispers to the brave. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to believe next. Belief turns obstacles into stepping stones. Belief turns weakness into wisdom. Belief turns someday into today. The inner fire. What we believe about ourselves sets the ceiling of our potential. When you start believing differently, life begins to rearrange itself to match that vibration. It's not magic, it's alignment. The outer world bends to the frequency of your inner conviction. That's why the strongest people don't need perfect conditions. They need powerful beliefs. Omar didn't win because the desert got easier. He won because his mindset got louder than his pain. The transformation. The day after the marathon, he returned to the same mirror that once reflected defeat. He looked at his scars, at the leg that was never supposed to run again, and smiled. Because now, he knew something unshakable. The body obeys the story the mind believes. And that story, the one fueled by faith, not fear, became the foundation of his new life. He began coaching other athletes recovering from injury, not with slogans, but with presence, not by promising perfection, but by proving possibility. His message was simple yet eternal. Don't believe what the world calls realistic. Believe what your soul calls true. Key takeaways. Belief is the seed of all transformation. You cannot create a reality you secretly doubt. The mind heals before the body follows. Conviction activates capability. Faith is not fantasy, it's focused perception. You become what you consistently imagine. The loudest voice you'll ever hear is the one you whisper to yourself. When belief becomes identity, destiny bends in your favor. Action step. Tonight, write down the 3 biggest things you don't believe you can do right now. Be honest, the fears, the self-doubt, the old stories. Then, beside each one, write a new statement beginning with "what if I could?" For example, what if I could forgive myself? What if I could start again? What if I could actually win? Read them aloud every morning for 21 days. Because repetition rewires reality, and what you believe repeatedly, you eventually become. The power of belief doesn't just move mountains, it moves you. And when you move, everything around you shifts too. Chapter 9. Discipline, the silent armor. Champions are not made in the spotlight. They are forged in the shadows, where no applause is heard, and no witness exists but their own conscience. The clock read 4:32 a.m. The world slept under a blanket of silence. And in that silence, a single alarm echoed through the cold air of an empty apartment. Leo groaned, reached for the phone, and for a brief moment, the thought flickered. Just 5 more minutes. But 5 minutes had cost him too much in the past. So he swung his legs over the bed, tied his shoes, and whispered the same words he said every morning. No one's coming to make you stronger. The weight of routine. Leo had once been a dreamer, a big one. He wanted to start his own design studio, build something of his own. But dreams without discipline are sandcastles, beautiful, temporary, easily washed away. For years, he started projects and abandoned them halfway. Every time he faced a wall, he'd convince himself he wasn't ready. He blamed time, money, luck, everything except his own inconsistency. Until one day, his mentor, an old craftsman named Ray, looked at him and said, "Talent is a gift. Discipline is a choice. One fades without the other." That sentence hit Leo like a storm. He realized the truth. He didn't lack potential. He lacked armor. The shift. That night, Leo made a decision that would change everything. He deleted the distractions. He created a strict schedule. He decided that every day, whether he felt like it or not, he would create for 2 hours before sunrise. No audience, no validation, just him, the work, and the silence. The first week was brutal. His body resisted. His mind rebelled. But somewhere inside the exhaustion, a quiet strength began to form, a rhythm, a pattern, a pulse. The invisible battles. No one saw him refusing the comfort of excuses. No one applauded when he turned off his phone and stayed in to finish sketches. No one noticed when he practiced design principles until his eyes burned. But these were the battles that mattered. The unseen ones. The ones fought between temptation and intention. Because true warriors don't fight for attention, they fight for mastery. The mentor's lesson. Months later, Leo visited Ray again, a man whose hands were marked with decades of creation. Ray watched him work quietly and said, "You've changed. You're not chasing ideas anymore. You're building them." Leo smiled. "I just learned to show up, even when I don't feel ready." Ray nodded. "That's discipline. The silent armor. It doesn't shine, but it saves you every day." Then he added something Leo would never forget. Motivation wakes you up. Discipline keeps you standing. The anatomy of discipline. Discipline isn't a punishment, it's a promise. It's the agreement between who you are and who you're becoming. It's the alarm clock that rings when no one else cares. The extra rep when your muscles scream. The decision to write one more line, even when inspiration dies. Discipline is the bridge between potential and proof. And that bridge is built one quiet morning at a time. The temptation to quit. There came a night when everything crashed again. A major client pulled out at the last minute. Bills piled up. Doubt whispered, "What's the point?" He stared at his sketches, defeated. Then, almost instinctively, he remembered the rhythm, the breath, the silence, the ritual. He turned off the lights, sat at his desk, and whispered, "Discipline doesn't depend on outcome. It depends on who I promise to be." And with that, he kept working, not because of hope, but because of habit. That's when he understood. Motivation gets tired. Habits don't. The breakthrough. One morning, a message landed in his inbox, an invitation from a major design magazine to feature his work. They'd found his portfolio online and loved his minimalistic series, the same work he'd been quietly refining in the shadows for months. Leo laughed, not out of excitement, but gratitude, because he realized the reward wasn't the feature. The real victory was who he had become in the process. He no longer needed the world's applause. His discipline had already crowned him in silence. The philosophy of armor. Discipline doesn't make life easier, it makes you stronger. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. Every time you do what you said you'd do, you reinforce trust in yourself. That self-trust becomes armor. Armor that protects you from laziness, from distraction, from self-doubt. And one day you realize, the war outside no longer intimidates you, because the war within has already been won. The transformation. A year later, Leo's studio officially opened. Clients, recognition, and success followed, but none of it compared to the quiet pride of knowing he had built it brick by brick. His morning routine never changed. Still 4:30 a.m. Still no audience. Still the silence, his most loyal companion. Because he had discovered the paradox of greatness. The louder the world becomes, the more powerful silence feels. And within that silence, discipline speaks. Key takeaways. Discipline is the ultimate form of self-respect. It's how you prove to yourself that your words have weight. Motivation fades, systems sustain. Create routines that survive your moods. Every unseen victory builds inner armor. Consistency is invisible until it becomes unstoppable. Discipline is freedom disguised as routine. Do it tired. Do it bored. Do it uncertain. But do it. Action step. Tonight, write down one commitment you've been breaking with yourself, something small but meaningful. Then design a micro-routine to reinforce it. Example, 10 minutes of writing each morning. 1 cold shower a day. Reading 5 pages before bed. Do it for 7 days. Track it. Honor it. Defend it. Because when you keep promises to yourself, your confidence grows. And confidence built through discipline doesn't shout, it radiates. Discipline is not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but in the silence of repetition, you become unbreakable. That's what makes it armor. Chapter 10. Purpose over pressure. Pressure doesn't break you. It reveals the shape of your purpose. The rain had been falling for hours, relentless, heavy, cleansing. In the dim glow of the city, Maya sat inside her parked car, hands gripping the steering wheel, tears mixing with the rhythm of the downpour. Her phone vibrated again, another message from her boss. "We need that proposal by morning." Her chest tightened. She had already missed 2 deadlines this month. The exhaustion wasn't just physical anymore. It had seeped into her spirit. She stared at her reflection in the window, a face she barely recognized. The same woman who once dreamed of changing the world through her work now felt crushed beneath the very thing she thought would define her. "What happened to me?" she whispered. The breaking point. For years, Maya had lived by one rule: perform or disappear. She was the overachiever, the one who never said no, who stayed late, who smiled through burnout. She chased every milestone, every metric, every approval, believing that if she worked hard enough, she'd finally feel enough. But pressure, when unbalanced by purpose, corrodes from the inside. And the harder she pushed, the more hollow she felt. Until one evening, in a boardroom presentation gone wrong, her mind went blank. She froze mid-sentence, the world spinning, her voice gone, her confidence shattered. The next morning, she didn't go to work. She couldn't. She sat by the window for hours, watching the rain, wondering how something she once loved had become the thing that drained her soul. The whisper in the chaos. That afternoon, Maya took a long walk through the park, aimless, soaked, exhausted. She found an old bench under a massive oak tree, sat down, and closed her eyes. In the quiet, a strange thought surfaced, one she hadn't heard in years. Why did you start in the first place? It stopped her cold. She realized she hadn't asked that question in a long time. When she began her career in urban planning, she didn't do it for promotions or paychecks. She did it because she wanted to build spaces that healed people, to design parks where children laughed, to turn empty lots into living, breathing communities. But somewhere along the climb, she had traded purpose for pressure. And for the first time in years, she decided she was done living that way. The decision. The next week, Maya quit her job. Everyone said she was crazy. You're throwing away stability. You've worked too hard to start over. But they didn't understand. She wasn't quitting her dream. She was quitting her disconnection from it. She began freelancing, small projects, community initiatives, anything that aligned with her deeper why. It wasn't easy. The money was inconsistent. The nights were long. But she felt something she hadn't felt in years, alive. The fire returns. One project changed everything. She was hired to redesign an abandoned space in the outskirts of the city, a neglected lot surrounded by crumbling buildings and forgotten people. When she first walked through the site, it smelled of rust and decay. But she saw something no one else did: potential. She envisioned gardens instead of garbage, laughter instead of silence, murals instead of graffiti. Her small team, volunteers, mostly, worked day and night. They had no corporate funding, no grand recognition, just vision. And slowly, the space transformed. One brushstroke, one brick, one act of belief at a time. When the park finally opened, children ran through the fountains. Old men played chess under the shade. Families gathered on weekends. And Maya stood in the middle of it all, tears streaming down her face, because she finally understood. Pressure built my strength, but purpose gave it direction. The realization. That night, under the glow of the park lights, she whispered a truth to herself. We don't burn out because we work too hard. We burn out because we forget why we started. Purpose is the anchor that makes pressure bearable. Without it, effort becomes emptiness. With it, even pain becomes sacred. The psychology of purpose. Neuroscientists say purpose releases dopamine and oxytocin, chemicals that strengthen motivation and resilience. Philosophers say it gives suffering meaning. Spiritually, it's the soul's compass, guiding you back when you lose your way. Purpose turns pain into preparation. It turns exhaustion into evolution. It transforms why me into try me. Because when you align effort with meaning, even struggle feels sacred. The inner dialogue. Maya started writing letters to herself, small reminders taped to her mirror. Pressure tests you. Purpose transforms you. Don't run from the weight. Learn to lift it with intention. Success without meaning is still a form of failure. Every morning, she repeated those lines, not as affirmations, but as reprogramming. Each word a repair to the parts of her spirit that corporate pressure had fractured. The transformation. 2 years later, her small community initiative caught media attention. Investors reached out. Government agencies took notice. She was invited to lead a citywide program focused on sustainable design for underprivileged neighborhoods. But when the cameras turned to her and the journalists asked, "How did you manage all this?" She smiled softly and said, "By choosing purpose over pressure." Every single day, the universal truth. Life will always apply pressure, deadlines, expectations, responsibilities. But pressure is not the enemy. Pressure is the sculptor. The problem begins when we forget the purpose behind the pressure, when we work for applause instead of alignment. Because purpose doesn't remove struggle, it redefines it. It turns the grind into gratitude. It turns the race into reverence. And when you live with that clarity, every burden becomes a bridge. The reflection. Purpose is not found, it's remembered. It's not a destination, it's a direction. And it's never about what you get from the world, it's about what you give back. When pressure mounts, purpose whispers, "This is not punishment, this is preparation." And that whisper, that sacred reminder, is what keeps warriors walking when the road gets rough. Key takeaways. Pressure reveals purpose. Every struggle carries the seed of significance. Burnout isn't caused by effort, it's caused by disconnection from meaning. Purpose transforms endurance into evolution. When you remember your why, the how becomes lighter. You can't control the weight, but you can choose what it builds. Action step. Tonight, write down 3 areas in your life where you feel the most pressure. For each one, ask, 1. What is this pressure trying to teach me? 2. How does this connect to a deeper purpose I may have forgotten? 3. If I approach this pressure with purpose, not panic, what would change? Then, write one line that summarizes your truth. My struggle is shaping my significance. Read it aloud tomorrow morning. And every time life presses down on you, remember, diamonds are only coal that stayed committed under pressure. Purpose doesn't remove the weight. It gives you the reason to carry it. And when you walk through life with that clarity, every burden becomes sacred. That is the power of choosing purpose over pressure. Chapter 11. Legacy Mode. Don't live to be remembered. Live so your impact can't be forgotten. The old man sat at the edge of the playground, watching the sunset dissolve into gold. Children ran across the newly painted lines, their laughter echoing through the air. A young father helped his daughter learn to ride a bicycle, clapping as she balanced for the first time. And among the noise, Elias smiled, quietly, contentedly, because this park, this space of joy, used to be nothing more than a pile of debris. 10 years ago, it was a landfill. Today, it was his legacy, the weight of victory. Elias had spent 40 years climbing, one boardroom, one merger, one deal at a time. He was the man everyone admired, sharp, unshakable, always in control. The company he built had his name on the glass door and his signature on the foundation plaque. He had money, respect, awards. And yet, when he sat in his corner office one late evening, staring at the skyline, he realized something terrifying. He had built a monument, but not a meaning. The applause faded the moment the curtain closed. And when the noise stopped, there was nothing left but silence. "Is this it?" he whispered. "Is this all it comes down to?" He had lived for success, not significance. For attention, not impact. And that night became his undoing and his rebirth. The spark. A few weeks later, Elias was invited to speak at a local high school about leadership. He expected polished faces and rehearsed gratitude. Instead, he found broken dreams. The classroom walls were cracked. The students, some barely 17, carried eyes that had already seen too much: poverty, violence, hopelessness. During the Q&A, one boy raised his hand. "Sir," he asked, "how do you know when your life actually matters?" The room went silent. Elias froze. The man who had answered every question in boardrooms, interviews, and shareholder meetings suddenly had no words. That night, he couldn't sleep. The boy's question echoed in his mind. When does your life actually matter? He realized his never really had. At least not to anyone who needed it most. The shift. Elias began showing up at that school weekly. At first, just to talk. Then, to listen. He learned about their struggles. No safe spaces, no mentors, no vision beyond survival. And something inside him cracked open, a compassion buried beneath decades of corporate armor. He used his own money to rebuild the school's courtyard, then a small gym, then a study center. He called it Project Elevate. But something unexpected happened. The more he gave, the more alive he felt. The applause he used to crave now came in the form of gratitude-filled smiles. And he realized he had been chasing recognition when all he ever wanted was relevance. The moment that changed everything. One afternoon, while supervising the construction of the playground, Elias saw the same boy who had asked that haunting question years ago. Now older, taller, and filled with light. "Sir," the boy said, "I just got accepted into university. Engineering. You told me to believe I could change something. So I will." Elias's throat tightened. That boy, that single spark of belief, had changed him. That evening, as the sun sank behind the school walls, Elias made a vow. "From this day forward, I will live in legacy mode." Legacy mode, the shift in consciousness. Legacy mode is not about leaving your name behind. It's about leaving your impact alive. It's when you stop asking, "What can I get?" and start asking, "What can I give that outlives me?" It's when ego dissolves and empathy takes its place. When work stops being about winning and starts being about worth. The invisible builders. Every generation stands on the shoulders of invisible giants. People whose names you'll never know, but whose actions shaped the world. A teacher who believed in one student. A nurse who comforted one patient. A stranger who gave one chance. Legacy isn't built in spotlights. It's built in silence, through consistent acts of service that echo long after you're gone. Elias's legacy expands. Over the next decade, Project Elevate grew into a city-wide initiative. Hundreds of students graduated. Many returned to mentor the next generation. Reporters called Elias a philanthropist, but he rejected the title. "I'm not giving back," he said. "I'm giving forward." He no longer measured time in hours or profit margins, but in lives touched. And for the first time in his existence, he felt truly victorious. The science of legacy. Psychologists call it generativity, the stage of life where individuals seek to nurture things that will outlast them. It's the natural evolution of purpose. When you move beyond self-achievement to collective contribution, you trigger neural pathways that release serotonin and oxytocin, creating a sense of fulfillment impossible to achieve through personal gain alone. In short, the brain is wired for legacy. You were never meant to just succeed. You were meant to seed. The internal dialogue. Late one evening, Elias journaled. "I used to think legacy was about being remembered. Now I know it's about being useful. Every day is a seed I plant in soil I may never see bloom. And that is enough." He ended with one final line. Impact outlasts applause. Always. Legacy isn't someday, it's today. You don't need to be rich, famous, or powerful to live in legacy mode. You just need to care enough to make a difference where you stand. A mother teaching her child empathy. A student mentoring a friend through hardship. A creator inspiring others to rise. Legacy begins when you stop needing credit. Because the truest form of greatness is quiet influence. Elias's final gift. Years later, when Elias passed away, there was no grand funeral, no marble monument. But hundreds gathered in the park, the one he helped build, holding candles in silence. One of the students spoke, tears glistening in his eyes. He didn't just build a park. He built people, and that's what we'll keep building. In the soft hum of the night, children laughed in the background. And somewhere beyond the veil of the stars, Elias smiled. Because his story had ended. But his legacy had just begun. The lesson: success dies when you do. Legacy lives when you don't. The world doesn't remember what you earned. It remembers what you gave. And when you live for something larger than applause, you find a kind of peace applause could never provide. The victory mindset evolution. 1. The warrior breaks. Pain forges resilience. 2. The battlefield within. Inner battles define outer victories. 3. Shadows of doubt. Fear becomes fuel. 4. The turning point. Courage meets decision. 5. The fire within. Burnout births purpose. 6. Rise of the inner champion. Belief becomes identity. 7. The art of controlled chaos. Calm creates power. 8. The power of belief. Conviction shapes reality. 9. Discipline. The silent armor. Invisible battles build greatness. 10. Purpose over pressure. Struggle becomes significance. 11. Legacy mode. Significance becomes eternity. Key takeaways. Legacy is the highest form of victory. A live to plant, not to perform. Impact, not applause, defines meaning. Serve quietly, influence loudly. You are not remembered by your possessions, but by your contribution. Reflection exercise. Take 5 minutes tonight and answer. 1. Who has your life quietly impacted, even in small ways? 2. What actions could you take this week that outlive your comfort zone? 3. If your name disappeared tomorrow, what would still stand because of you? Write one sentence, your legacy manifesto. I live not to impress the world, but to improve it. Read it aloud. Then go out and live it. Not someday, but today. Because the victory mindset isn't about winning your story. It's about ensuring your story helps others win theirs. Chapter 12. The Unstoppable You. You were never meant to chase victory. You were born to embody it. The rain came down in silver streaks, tracing rivers along the cracked pavement. A young woman stood beneath a flickering streetlight, her backpack soaked, her breath visible in the cold. Her name was Mara. She had just been rejected again. Another job turned her away. Another "will be in touch" email that would never come. For 3 years, she had tried to rebuild her life after leaving a toxic relationship, moving cities, and chasing a dream that now seemed to mock her. Everything inside her screamed, "You've tried enough." But then she looked up and noticed a mural painted on the brick wall beside her. It read in bold gold letters, "Legacy lives where courage continues." Below it was a small plaque dedicated to Elias, whose faith in others built futures that will never fade. Mara had no idea who Elias was. But in that moment, she felt something stir, a pulse, a whisper, a question. What if I'm meant to carry it forward? The rebirth of a dream. The next morning, she woke before dawn. The world was still, street lights dimming, horizon glowing. For the first time in months, she felt clarity. She wasn't going to chase approval anymore. She wasn't going to wait for permission. She pulled out a notebook and wrote 3 words across the first page. The Unstoppable You. That would be the name of her project. A small community space where people could come to heal, learn, and rebuild. It didn't exist yet. She had no funds, no sponsors, no connections. But she had belief, and that was enough to begin. The construction of the mindset. At first, it was chaos, long nights, rejection letters, and quiet tears. She turned her small apartment into a makeshift office. When doubt crept in, she replayed the mural's words. Legacy lives where courage continues. Her transformation didn't come from lightning bolts or luck. It came from discipline. Each morning she woke before sunrise. Each day she faced one small fear, a cold call, a pitch, a risk. Each evening, she journaled one lesson she learned. Over time, her pain turned into patterns, habits that built strength. That's how the victory mindset truly forms. Through invisible persistence when the world isn't watching. The Unstoppable Blueprint. Mara learned that becoming unstoppable isn't about never falling. It's about refusing to stay down. She began teaching her growing community. 1. Belief is the seed. If you don't believe in the possibility, no amount of effort will matter. Belief creates energy. 2. Discipline is the soil. Growth only happens in the daily grind, where commitment replaces excitement. 3. Purpose is the sun. It gives light to everything. The why that burns away the shadows of fatigue. 4. Service is the rain. When your growth nourishes others, your roots deepen. These 4 pillars became her life's architecture, the blueprint of the unstoppable, the setback that tested everything. 2 years in, the project had finally found momentum, volunteers, funding, impact. Then the storm hit. A fire broke out one night in the building she rented. By morning, everything was gone. Books, equipment, walls, memories. Standing in front of the ashes, Mara's knees buckled. She had built everything from scratch, and it was all gone in a single night. The old voice whispered again, maybe this is the end. But then she saw it. Among the ruins, the metal plaque that had once hung above the entrance. It was blackened and bent, but still readable. The Unstoppable You. She laughed through her tears. Because that's what it meant. Unstoppable doesn't mean unbroken. It means you rise anyway. She rallied her community. People donated time, materials, and hope. Within months, they rebuilt, bigger, brighter, stronger. The fire had destroyed her building, but it had ignited her movement. From dreamer to architect, when the new center opened, Mara was invited to give a speech. The crowd filled the space, students, families, leaders, and strangers who had once lost faith. She stood on the small stage, sunlight pouring through the windows. Behind her hung a new mural, the same golden words, only this time painted by the hands of her students. Legacy lives where courage continues. Mara smiled, her voice steady and strong. I used to think victory was something you achieved once. Now I know it's something you build every day. You don't wait for life to hand you a crown. You forge your own with courage, belief, and service. Each of us, she continued, has the power to design our destiny. You are not a survivor. You are not a victim. You are the architect of your eternal victory. The crowd rose in applause, but Mara's eyes lifted toward the mural. In her heart, she whispered to Elias, to all who had come before. The torch has been passed. The philosophy of the unstoppable. What does it mean to become unstoppable? It's not about speed, strength, or perfection. It's about momentum. The unstoppable move through fear, not around it. They walk through failure, not away from it. They understand that victory isn't found at the end, it's forged in motion. Every moment of resistance refines resilience. Every fall trains the rise. Every no builds the voice that will one day say yes. And when you learn to see life as a continuous evolution, not a single triumph, you unlock the mindset that outlives circumstance. That is the victory mindset, not to conquer the world, but to continually conquer yourself. The ripple effect. Years later, Mara's initiative spread across cities. Every center carried the same message, the same mural, the same belief. People from different walks of life, ex-athletes, survivors, dreamers, came together to teach what they'd learned from their own battles. And somewhere in those gatherings, young voices began to rise, bolder, braver, and more self-assured. One student was asked during an interview what the unstoppable you meant to him. He smiled and said, "It means I'm not waiting for the world to change. I'm becoming the one who changes it." And just like that, the torch was passed again. The inner circle of victory. Victory, Mara realized, is not linear. It's circular, an eternal motion of rising, helping, and passing on. Those who once needed light become the lanterns. Those who once doubted themselves become the mentors. This is the unbreakable circle, the eternal flow of growth and giving that keeps the fire alive long after we're gone. When you live with that awareness, you never truly lose. Even in endings, you plant beginnings. Eternal victory. On the anniversary of her project's founding, Mara sat alone in the new garden behind the center. She watched a group of teenagers painting the next mural on the wall. This one read, "The victory mindset lives here." She closed her eyes, smiling. The wind carried the sound of laughter, of life. And in that moment, she realized, this is eternity. Not marble statues or history books, but souls that keep rising because you once believed they could. The final message, This book, this journey, has never been about Daniel, Aisha, Elias, or Mara. It's about you. Because somewhere between your fears and your fire, between your failures and your faith, lies the same unstoppable spirit. You are the warrior, the dreamer, the phoenix, the architect. You fought unseen battles, carried invisible scars, and still, you rise. You may not always see your progress, but every act of courage adds a brick to your legacy. Every time you choose discipline over doubt, purpose over pressure, belief over fear, you are winning invisible wars. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize, the whole time, you were building victory. Not for applause, not for perfection, but for evolution. Because the truth is, you were never meant to stop. You were meant to become unstoppable. Key takeaways. Unstoppable doesn't mean unbroken. It means unyielding. Victory is not a destination, it's a discipline. The greatest architecture you'll ever design is your own mindset. Your story becomes eternal when it helps others rise. Legacy begins the moment you decide to live beyond yourself. Reflection exercise, the Architect's Manifesto. Take a blank page and title it, My Eternal Victory. Then answer, 1. What do I want to build that will outlive me? 2. Who am I becoming through the battles I'm facing right now? 3. What habits, beliefs, and actions will define the unstoppable me? Finish with this declaration. I am not waiting for the perfect moment. I am building it. Every challenge is a brick. Every lesson is a beam. Every act of courage is a cornerstone. I am the architect of my eternal victory. Epilogue. The torch continues. The mural still stands under that old streetlight. Every morning, someone new passes by, tired, lost, or afraid. And sometimes, they stop and read the words. Legacy lives where courage continues. Then something shifts, a breath, a spark, a whisper of belief. They walk away taller, lighter, changed. Because the flame of victory never truly goes out. It simply moves. From one heart to another. From one generation to the next. From one dream to the world. And now, it burns in you.